overall, I look at this outline. I think it fits what we need to do. I don't think there's much that I can see that's left out. And I think we should go through this, vote on it, and move to the next step.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we need to vote on this. I don't know if this is an item.
It's not final, is it?
No,
No,
of course not. They can give us direction to pursue the outline that's presented.
Or to proceed with the outline, correct, yes.
Okay, we will do that. We will start plugging in, working with the county attorney's office and start plugging in language.
Right.
And then we'll send it to you for review and kind of go back and forth.
So we're going to look at expanding and loading this out with the details. And so something like one of the the questions of the boundaries goals would be how much of the ELAM is going to be maintained, and then that would feed into the costs as to our projections and what SWIFT is going to contribute to that. So right now we don't need those details in here in this part or at this stage, but those will eventually come into the document. I know that's what a lot of people here are concerned with is we get the framework started and then we'll add that separation of duty and more details move forward. That was my thought, and while we were heading in that direction.
In terms of sharing this information with the community, which is what everybody here is concerned about, can we discuss the website idea, where we are with that, and whether that's going to be operable? Because to me, I don't know that, and Paris may know, but I don't know that every single person that lives in Gulf Harbors in the MSBU, that we have their email and contact information. So to me, we need a public forum. And there's been a bunch of people saying, well, what are you people doing up there? What are you supposed to do? I mean, we've got the ordinance right here we can publish on the website so they can see it. So I don't want to waste time in the meeting explaining it to them because they can read it. But it's very clear what our duties are in here.
So that's item 2, and we can move on to public communications if there's no more discussion on. I don't think the chair is okay with that. Chairperson is okay with that. And the rest of the committee as well.
So I make a motion to move on to number 2. Okay.
All right, so the next item is public notification. Chair's permission, I can cover that as well.
Please.
All right, so there's an example, very rough and quick example of what we can put on the county website. So one of the things that we discussed 2 weeks ago was a comment section where the public, and well, in this case the Gulf Harbor residents and property owners, would write in their comments and then they would get sent to an email. That's not going to work. That won't work for our webpage. What we would end up doing is we would end up just putting an email, which is already in existence, Gulf Harbor at Pasco County, FL.net, and the public could comment on that, and then that would get sent to someone within the department, and then we would forward that to the chair, and then the chair would then present that information at the advisory committee meeting. And there's an example for those in the audience of what that very rough looking language on the website would be. So in addition to, we also discussed that if it's on the county website, we want to make it clear that it is not a public park. So that's the first thing that would be on the website, that it's not a public park. And then it goes into some of the information on the existence of the reason we have MSBU in the ordinance. But there is an area that we can link if you were to scroll down. We could build out some FAQs, and there we have links to the ordinance and resolution. We could also link the minutes after they've been approved and accepted. And we could possibly even do the agenda.
And this is to the Pasco County website for the park.
Correct. And there's been discussion that it could be linked to the Civic
Right.
Center.
The Gulf Harbor City website.
Right. You could have a link that said, go to this, when you click on it, it just links to our county website.
Okay.
So if you want to open it up to discussion.
I move we do open for discussion.
Okay, so this was, so we'd just be providing the email where they could then open the email and look at the form.
Well, so the way our communication manager described it, you couldn't send the email to a non-county, you couldn't send the comment to a non-county email. So she was saying, what's the point of having the comment box if it's going to get sent to this email anyway? Just have the email. And so just have the email link there. Someone types in their email, sends it to us, and then we forward it to who would be the chair, Chicky. And then she would share it at the next advisory committee meeting.
The limitation of 1,000 words to 1,000 characters. You can limit that on the form, but not on an email.
We discussed it as well. What someone could do is they could just do part 1, part 2, part 3, and they would just send us 5 or 6 comments.
Got it.
We have seen that, so it's easier to have the email.
One email is
So how quickly could we have this up and running? Because I would send some kind of wacky Facebook posts. There's people in the neighborhood that think the county's out to screw us and screw you and screw everybody, which I think is crazy. I think we're working in partnership here, and I'd like to get the correct information out. There's people that are fearful that this is a public park that's going to turn into a place where there's going to be hundreds of vagrants that are coming from all over the United States to live in our park, and just kind of crazy stuff. People that are afraid of toxics, that they're going to get poisoned by going on the property. So I think the quicker we get this thing up and running and get the right information out, the better off we're going to be, because I think people fear what they don't know.
If the advisory committee is good with this language, then I'll start working on it.
Yes.
I move we go forward with that. I move we go forward with that language.
And we can adjust it later. So if there's, and the FAQs are going to change. So there's going to be comments from the community that may not be addressed on the FAQs, and when we can address it at that time.
And I think as we discussed, I think in the first meeting, this is the landing spot for minutes, any documents, background documentation. I do know that we have to adhere to ADA guidelines to make sure, so we might have to work with IT on that a little bit, but I would like the permission for staff to be able to add whatever we think is relevant, that's factual information. Just, if you want to do this quickly, you don't want there to be a lag between meetings for us to ask you, hey, can we post this information? So I would ask the committee's permission to just, whatever documentation that's relevant, we post, because it's all about being transparent.
Right.
That's
Informing
what we have
the
to do,
public.
and
Right.
informing the public. So we want to make sure there's not a lag in that process. That's just my thoughts. Because, eventually we're going to be meeting probably less frequently, and we don't want to wait a quarter or whatever to be able to post.
In addition, is there a way that Chicky, let's just say there's some pressing question in the community, or something that's going around the community that's totally false? Is there a way that, as the committee chairperson, that she can address through the website things that are false, incorrect, or does it have to go through the meeting process and the minutes to be posted? I don't even know if we want that. I'm just bringing it up as a thought process.
Yeah, I think, I don't think you have to go through the meeting process, but now you're talking about a dialogue. So I don't think that this website would be intended to create dialogue. It would be intended to just post factual information on decisions that have either been made or documents that are part of the process.
Yeah, and no rebuttal.
And no rebuttals. I feel like if there was a mention of the Civic Association having a platform, but honestly, I think that would be better had on built on that platform than the county website.
I do want to caution, though, that the county attorney did bring up a comment regarding this information on Facebook or whatever site. The advisory committee is not really supposed to be having a dialogue on those sites. Because any business that's to be conducted about the golf harbors near the park needs to be at the committee meeting. So starting a dialogue on a social media site would
I was
talking about our the Pasco County website, but it probably makes sense not to have any dialogue.
Which leads back to getting information out to the community as soon as possible. all of us are the taxpayers paying for this, and we need to know, not just the 7 of us, and not just the people who show up to this meeting, but the 1,866 property owners of Gulf Harbors, as soon as possible, please.
Absolutely, so I will start moving forward with the website. Now, we're gonna move a little on the slow side, we have to comply with ADA requirements. It has to be practical, or not practical, possible for our website. So I may go back and forth with you on certain problems that we run into, but I'll keep you advised. I agree, we need to get this up as quickly as possible. The quicker we get this up, the earlier we address a misinformation campaign or misinformation.
And that's been my feeling, that we're up here with our hands behind our back because we're not allowed to communicate.
Right.
And yet, I do want to get our intent out to the public, but I can't. So, right, yeah, if we can get that out. Then to the workshop idea, we really can't meet at breakfast. We can't have a general discussion with the public, except for here. And then that has to be, I do agree. But that is the process that we are in, is comment comes in through the comment forms and the emails. We then add it to our agenda, and then it cycles back through. So I understand public frustration.
But that'll take,
Madam Chair, just a comment to that. You could decide to hold a workshop in this format on a specific issue if you so wish to do so. Even in that environment, it's a discussion and not a whole lot of back and forth, but we could talk to the county attorney's office on how we can structure that kind of workshop to seek very specific input. So I think that could happen. Again, I caution the group because our instructions are very clear on what's in front of us to date. But I think we could put something together in this format, in a workshop format.
But then it's going back to just those two topics. We need to get the rules and the amount set, and it's very simple.
And the public comment component will be in the rules. So that's something we can certainly discuss.
Okay.
And so that we can put that into